Well, so DNA is, of course, the molecule that carries all our genetic information and that of all living beings.
This is Christophe Dessimoz, a professor at University of Lausanne and University College London.
It's a long molecule that contains the famous A, T, C, and G, the adenine, guanine, thymine, and cytosine, and the order in which these bases appear encode information. So you could think, if in computer science we work with a binary alphabet, in life has like a 4-letter alphabet, and so there's really used to encode the genes. And I think the analogy with programs works quite well. You have some parts that get expressed in a very tightly regulated way, and that give rise then to all the proteins that then are the building blocks of life.
So DNA is the information code of life, but of what use can it be to computer scientists?
DNA is interesting because it's such a small and dense molecule.
How dense is it?
So if you look in one of our cells, there is there's about 3 billion base pairs in the genome. So in each of the cells, and of course we have many cells. But if you just took one of the cell and then you unwinded that DNA, it would be 2 meters long. So you can see this information is really tightly packed.
One amazing property of DNA is its amazing ability to curve itself in many directions, such that its length of 2 meters successfully fits in a cell nucleus whose diameter is only of a few micrometers.
Another interesting factoid is that we have about 10 trillion cells in our body. And so if you just put all of these DNA strands now of 2 meters long end to end, you could go to the sun and come back for about 100 times. So it's an enormously dense molecule, and so you can imagine also the information that you can pack into it is tremendous.
Wow, this is crazy. Using only my DNA, I could bridge the gap between the Earth and the Moon. But as computer scientists, what we're usually interested in is rather the number of bits that we can store.
So your video series is called a Zetabyte, right? So a Zetabyte is 10 to the 21 bytes, right? So we have terabytes, so that I think people are familiar with this. Petabytes, if you're managing a storage facility, you'll also be used to that. That's 10 to the 15. 10 to the 18 are exabytes, and then you get to zettabytes.
So zettabytes are thousands of billions of bits.
Incidentally, I think in 2013 or 2014, IDC, so this is this kind of a big consulting company for data analysts for the IT industry. They estimated that all of the information that was stored in a digital form by the humanity was around 2-3 zettabytes. So of course this increases very quickly. But, the zettabytes is kind of the right order of magnitude.
You hear that, guys? Our YouTube channel is right spot on in the right order of magnitudes to deal with all of humanity's data. But would all of humanity's data fit in DNA storage?
So it is possible to store this information. It's just a question of costs. So that's one thing that has to be said. But also, it's also very practical to store all of the world's information in DNA, because we calculated that you could fit everything in the back of a big car.
This is crazy. All of humanity's data could fit within a few billions of DNA strands, and all of these DNA strands could fit in a single car. Imagine that, going on a road trip with all the knowledge of mankind in the back of your car. And yet, this would not yet correspond to optimal DNA storage.
There was some recent work at the beginning of this year where they optimized a little bit the amount of DNA that you would store. Checking, if you dilute it, how much can you dilute it until you can't recover the information. And with the scheme they had, they could claim like about a factor 10, 15, of improvements. So it's quite possible that now we could store all of this information in a big backpack. But of course, the information also grows quite quickly. So, but that gives an order of magnitude. So it's extremely dense.
And DNA can store a lot of data in a very small space. The theoretical limit for data storage in DNA is an exabyte of data per cubic millimeter.
So I mentioned already how dense DNA is, but it's also, it's also very, very stable.